I can't think of any other word to explain the markets apart from absolutely insane. We have a president launching a meme coin before he's inaugurated in less than 24 hours. We now have his wife also launching a meme coin and he's being inaugurated in less than 24 hours. Trump's meme coin right here is now hovering between $36 and $78 after 24 to 30 hours ago. It was at $1.50. What the hell is going on in the markets overall? I think this is the volatility that we have been talking about now for over 12 months that leads into this winner's curse phase of the market. The winner's curse phase is essentially where everyone thinks that they are a day trader. Everyone thinks that they are an absolute genius for trading the markets. Not just my words. This is basically what happens at those sort of peak times of the market every single time. But that does not mean that the game is over yet. The game could just be getting started. What I'm going to go through in today's video are the key levels to the upside. This is basically for the confirmation, and to the downside, the invalidation levels, and the shorter term price targets that could give us a little insight, a little warning that things might be tipping over the edge to the downside, of course. More on that in just a moment. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new here. This is your home of macro cycle analysis. I cover traditional markets, stock markets, crypto, Bitcoin, and the real estate cycle. We're still in the macro bull market. Stock markets are up. Real estate is up, and it's what we've been talking about here on the channel now for several years. So hopefully you don't miss out on each of the day's content. Okie dokie. It's absolutely insane. I can't think of any other words to describe it. And this is going to be a bit more of a discussion at the beginning, and then we'll get into the TA later on. The inauguration day scheduled for Trump's 2025 presidential swearing in. This is essentially a look at the agenda for the inauguration. They say it takes roughly about an hour, and it's going to kick off at about 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, teeing up Trump swearing in. He's going to take it inside, I think, because the weather is looking to be quite cold. So if you're looking to get the volatility and the absolute insanity that the markets are delivering right now, that would probably be the time that you would want to be online. For us in Australia, it's going to be some early freaking hours of the morning, early Tuesday morning. But obviously for the rest of the world, you guys will have the American times there, 11:30 a.m. And obviously Europe, looking at around 5 to 7 hours later. Melania has launched a meme coin. Trump has launched a meme coin. You would have heard this by now. Obviously, I'm a little later here on the news, but what I want to get to is the charts, and we do have a little bit more information than what the folks had 24 hours ago, of course. Now, I'm taking this at basically face value that these are real. I think most people believe that they are real from Melania and Donald J. Trump, that these are real meme coins, and I'm taking it from CoffeeZilla. He does far more research into these sort of scams, his words, than the majority of people. As it is, meme coins, hopefully you guys have made an absolute killing on them. If you have, fantastic. Where the hell does this put us? Like, it seems insane. And if it is going to continue on, then we got to be somewhere around the optimism belief. You might disagree and say maybe it's thrill or euphoria. And to some degree, you could even argue that it's complacency, just depending on the chart in terms of that lower high that's at the moment as I film this. However, that can obviously all change. We could pump past the all-time high. But if that's the case, if we do pump past and we then put in higher lows above, like $100,000, $103,000, and then of course above the all-time high at $108,000 for BTC, you have to now be on the side that it wasn't complacency after all that. It's got to be your optimism, belief, thrill, and then some place into the euphoria. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves with cryptos, let's have a look at what's coming up with the rest of the market. Obviously, we talked about the inauguration that's coming up, in less than 24 hours, and they're launching meme coins. I mean, why do they have to launch meme coins? Maybe it becomes clear. I really hope it becomes clear in the very near future why they had to launch a damn meme coin. Just look after America. Look after the people. Look after the rest of the world. Forget your stupid meme coins. So as insane, as crazy as it is, I hope you're making money from it. Whatever it is, meme coins, Trump doing his thing, make the money from it. do what you need to do, just like our premium members. You can check this all out for yourself. Here are the trading results. You've got MAGA Trump making huge gains, Solana, XRP, Fartcoin. Just get on the trends, get your money in, get your money out, do what you need to do while the volatility is there. That is the benefit of these markets going absolutely insane. And some more volatile announcements coming up this week. You've got the BOJ, so the Bank of Japan. Probably no one even cares about this anymore, but this was, if you remember back to August, so nearly 6 months ago, that was what dumped the market, absolutely crashed the market, and people called for another recession. Now, no one is talking about this, obviously because the inauguration is coming up. Previous was 0.25%. They're forecasting that Japan is going to put the interest rates up again. This is what dumped the market before. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not expecting it to dump the markets as much because we've already seen it happen. The market's probably got used to it already. But here it is. It's tentative. Bank of Japan, the outlook here, the policy rate could potentially be going up. Apart from that, another couple of weeks later, we then have the FOMC. The federal funds rate is due out on, in our time, January 30th. So obviously the 29th there for the US. So some pretty big things coming up for the month of January. Now for the S&P 500, quick look at these stock markets as they closed out pretty strong at the end of last week. Break above that downtrend, holding above the short-term 50% level, relatively, well, in a relatively strong position here considering where it's come from over the last 20 odd days. NASDAQ, similar-ish position, also closing just above the 50%, closing above the diagonal downtrend. So even if this does start to fall back here, as long as we continue to put in a higher low, then break past the 50%, this would all be part of consolidation for this quarter one, which we have been anticipating to be a little bit rockier than previous quarter ones. You've got the Dow Jones also doing stronger things here, breaking past its downtrend, nice strong move, and just a slight little close here above the 50% level. The thing I'm noting with all of the charts though is that the volume is dropping off, at least in the short term here. So you know what we've looked at before? Often when we get these drop-offs in volume, the price does come back and do a price fill of that volume. So where that volume was relatively low, it comes back and fills that price in. You know, we looked back at this through August, a bit of a low volume here, came back, retested it. We looked at it through these October tops, came back, filled in that volume, and that was especially on the S&P 500. So although I'm expecting longer term upside, winner's curse phase of the real estate and economic cycle, stock markets are still up. It's stuff that we've been looking at for years now, calling for upside, while the majority of media analysts and investors and all this sort of stuff are looking for recessions. We've been calling upside, upside, upside. In the short term, there are some sort of some weaker signs here, just very, very short term. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about really, because obviously the longer term here, we're looking for longer term upside, and it seems like everything is still well and truly on track. There hasn't been anything, none of these significant levels get broken down yet here. In the case of Dow Jones, past that $41,500 level, and for the S&P 500, a break back past sort of 56 to 5,800 points. That was all the way back at these support levels. Not yet, could still happen, but they're the levels that we're still watching for any sort of macro support. So any downside, if that is to happen, the longer term view is still well and truly intact here. Okay, so that's for the traditional markets. The rest of the world actually has been relatively strong. Australia has been up. Canada has been up. This is the massive one. The top 50 in Europe has broken to a new 24 and a half year high, breaking past 51.25, now closing out at 51.48, off the back of England, well, let's call it the UK, being strong here. A new all-time high closeout on Friday, new all-time high closeout price. This is what I put in the video last week. This pump is warning what's next for dumb money. We're all a dumb money. What's next are new all-time high prices. And this was before these results came out, because I made the video on Friday morning, and this of course was Friday data, which came out on Saturday for us here in Australia. The NASDAQ, the DAX, the German DAX, new all-time high prices, and France, the laggard of the three, is also pushing to new fresh prices here. You've got the Netherlands for our Dutch viewers, fresh higher prices, not back to those tops yet, but on its way. Look, it's gapped up a little bit. It could be getting a little bit exhausted. Exhausted just means maybe you'll be due for a correction soon. And what else? For the Italians, we've got new fresh high prices here for the Italians. This is broken out of consolidation downtrend move here, which has been going on for basically the entire history of this chart anyway. Milano Italian Borsa Index. Look at that. It's held above and then broken above these levels here. So Europe is also pushing up relatively well. China also having a little bit of a bounce here, closing above those previous tops on Friday. Japan holding out at these higher prices. And India, the weakest of the bunch, but it has been strong for a very, very long time, basically putting an all-time high. So basically coming back for a bit of a breather. The market's overall looking relatively strong leading into this, but also longer term, even if there are some short-term corrections, are still looking pretty damn good. So over to cryptocurrencies and the insanity continuing. Trump up here, $53. Melania, $9. Don't worry about how I say it. Just go with it. Official Trump. So what I've done here is sort these by their 24-hour volume. And official Trump's at $46 billion in the last 24 hours. Get a look at this later on. But basically, that's some pretty damn high volume here going over for that Trump meme coin. The Fear and Greed Index was the big one that we've been looking at over the last several weeks, with the lower highs continuing to form. So now you're starting to get into that sentiment that is a little bit concerning at this point, unless it's able to push higher again. So basically, we need to see that sentiment rise to the occasion. So I'm going to bring this one forward for us again. We need to see this keep coming through. Otherwise, we could end up like the previous tops here. There's March, April, May, June. You can see the sentiment just dying off, not able to get back to new fresh highs. So you're not getting that full reset, and then the full reset had to happen. So this is kind of your, for the bulls anyway, the worst case scenario. You're just getting these lower highs and then eventually it dumps. But what you can also see is prices going higher like it did in 2021, but the market sentiment also technically cooling off here. You have the highs here in the extreme greed. So there are these prices here at 90, so 90 plus on the fear and greed sentiment. And then some quick flushes out with the sentiment cooling off here while the prices are still going higher, and then eventually they stop going higher. So you get the lower high forming, and that's where the big volatility comes in. So massive, massive correction there. It went quiet, back into the extreme fear to reset, and away she went again for the next leg up. So if that is occurring right now, and we'll get to that with some of the price targets here to the upside and the downside, that's what you would probably see, right? The sentiment not necessarily getting back to where it was. So some pretty extreme readings past 92, 94, and then just holding out with some quick flushes. And then eventually you see it remaining in the fear. So you got neutral, fear, and extreme fear for a lot longer period of time to reset the market sentiment overall. But in the meantime, like you could see back here, you had the prices going higher. The other giveaway to that, so even if this is prices going higher, yes, I'm bullish, chill out. If you're bullish, great too. If you want to make money to the upside, great. You're all long, you're doing whatever the hell it is that you do. But just take note of that, because this is over the period of 4 months, and then into the lower top was a period of 5 months. So that's May, and here are the breakouts in January. The thing to note here is that you had shorter price ranges between each of the tops. Okay, so here is the top correction. Then you have the next top, and then you're just measuring to each of these tops. It's basically getting very short compared to the previous one. So here is the movement, which means that you're just losing that momentum. If you follow the relative strength index, you have less relative strength to the overall market. You need to see this thing push even higher on each subsequent pump to keep the strength going. And in this case, the strength ran out of the market, and it takes months for that to occur. But in the meantime, you got everyone getting very, very excited. There's your extreme greed. Had it again. The extreme greed just turned into greed. Corrections happened. And then the extreme greed basically turns into mostly greed, with the odd occasion of extreme greed. And then basically it couldn't even make it back to the extreme greed. That's where it started to roll over. So 2 scenarios there. There's always multiple scenarios here, because at the end of the day, no one knows what happens on this black side of the chart. We're just trying to forecast to our best ability And in the process of forecasting, you want to keep your risk reward in check. Is there much reward to the upside? That's entirely a question up to you compared to the risk to the downside. And if you think there is more reward than there is risk, well, then you load up even more. If you think there is less reward to the upside than there is risk, well, then you don't load up as much. And that's why at the lows, you take a bigger risk because you think there's a lot more upside than there is downside. And then at the tops, you take less risk because there could be a lot further downside. That's a quick little masterclass on your position sizing. So if you have no idea about that, definitely go check out TIA Premium. It's a lesson within itself, and it's definitely necessary if you want to do this shit long term. Okay, so that's BTC. Let's have a look at some of the numbers now and take a quick look at the rest of the crypto markets as well. I've got ETH, XRP, Solana, SUI. I've got Trump coin here on SwiftX if you guys are looking for that for your Australian trading. From last week or even weeks before, we're waiting for the price to close above the 50% level, that being at around $99,000 to $100,000, and then consolidate above the previous swing top here of 102. So it's done one of those two things and closed above 99, 100K. That's this red line through the middle, but it hasn't consolidated above this previous swing top. It's tested it, got rejected, and came back down. The worrying sign, hopefully I said that right, is that we've got a lower swing top forming here. But the positive here is that you've got a low at the moment attempting to be formed above that 50% level. And what we know about 50% levels is in the top half of the 50%, it's strong. In the bottom half of the 50%, it is weak. For now, it's in the strong half. So ideally, you get these close above, go on this absolutely ridiculously insane run to the upside. Everyone gets rich, and I don't know, no one gets poor in this whole process. That's typically not what happens, right? So that's the beauty about, that's the positive here for Bitcoin. So far, as I'm filming this video, above 99, 100K, ideally above that next level. Now, the worst thing that we want to see, well, we don't want to see, for the bulls at least, is any movement here and then it closes below the 50% and retests under the 50% level. So retest under that 50%, under $99,000, $100,000, and failures, it could do this, right? That is going to be very bad for BTC. The reason being is that it's tested the upper side here. It's tested the strong half and it's failed at the strong half. The traders, the investors have said enough's enough, and those tops, wherever they come in, that's all they want to give BTC right now. And they basically sell it off, sellers come in, bam, down goes the price, and then it fails there at around 99, 100K. And that's basically probably going to see some retests of the lows. But for now, it hasn't happened. We're just preparing for either way because at the moment, well, for like we've said, the last 2 months, you're in a trading range. Well, we are all in a trading range between 90K and basically $105,000, $108,000. As much as the emotions have been absolutely wild on huge liquidations like the fifth, the biggest liquidations in its history we had on the 9th. And today we have some of the biggest liquidations in history again, 1.16 billion. 900 million of longs getting liquidated, $250 million of shorts getting liquidated, a nice huge day again. So another massive day of liquidations. Well, we're still in a trading range for that whole time. So basically you could have bought somewhere around here in mid-November, exactly 2 months ago, turned your screens off, and you're pretty much only in front by a couple of percent. Buying here at 98, now it's at 102, but you would have avoided all of the emotions in between this, right? So that's what we got for BTC right now. Because it's still in the trading range, I'll give the benefit of the doubt to the upside here because it's in the strong half. The benefit of the doubt means you'd expect it to at least attempt to test these high prices again at 106. Let's wait till the inauguration because there are so many potentials that could come here. You know, a big spike up and a big correction here, which leads me to Solana in the short term at least, as that's what we've seen here. So we've seen a huge pump up over the weekend. It broke to new all-time highs, $295, massive wick down, some of the largest volume, if not the largest, some of the largest volume in its history with a lower close underneath the previous old all-time high. But if it's able to find support here at 230, consolidate, then it could attempt to test those high prices again at 260 to $290. But that's the sort of thing that you don't want to see. These are typically signals of tops unless it's able to consolidate in the strong half. If it breaks down from the strong half, then that's your sign that that was likely a top. And that's what we don't want to see happen next over the next 24 hours with BTC. Maybe we get these big pumps up with the inauguration coming in. You know how much Trump is on he says is on the side of BTC, so on and so forth, right? That's what you don't want to see. You don't want to see some closes back under these levels, which is exactly what happened in, 2021. So you had that in April, big pushes to the upside, and it failed. It came back underneath those tops. That's a weak signal, and you can see it happen again at the all-time high. It attempted to push up and close back underneath those levels. That's a failure, right? And it also is in the moment. It's happening in for SUI, which I'll get to in a sec. But just to finish up on Solana, simply put, above 230, we're in the strong half here, and above these tops, that's even better. So above 250, that's where you want to see the consolidation to attempt to push higher again. Otherwise, same sort of thing, failure. And the last thing with Sol is that we had our weekly swing extension for those price targets to the downside. And you can see what we were watching here last week is that it failed at 50%. So that was the short signal, the short position to the downside. That failed. So when you get a signal that fails, it can be a signal within itself to do the opposite because it's showing signs of strength. And that showed that the market was looking likely it wanted to go up. It was still in its trading range, but the trend was up with it. I had no idea that you were going to see this massive pump up on a Saturday of nearly 20%, and then the next day as well, going even higher to 295. Like, I don't know anyone that could predict that it's going to do exactly those on that days. I don't think anyone can, and if they do say they are, they're lying to you. But we could see that there was some strength lying here to support the price, at least in the short term, and there was less chance of it going to the target to the downside, the 100% target here of $134. So now that that signal's done its work, we can get rid of that. We can get rid of this weekly extension, which you could use in your own trading as well. That's why I think it's a great lesson there on those 50% levels. And now we wait to see whether we get some consolidation here for Solana. On top of that, we got SUI, and it still has not broken back above the previous all-time highs here of $5. And to get back to that other all-time high there of 540. So the first high here was to give us the sign of strength or weakness. And it showed so far in the short term, there is some weakness developing here, especially on the back of, the meme coins going up, so on and so forth. You still have a lot of closes underneath that previous top here around $4.95, call it $5. And for the SUI BTC chart, so SUI against BTC, it's also continued to fall while Bitcoin has shown some strength here, going up from 89,000 to 105, 106,000, now closing out at about 102,000 as I film this. So you're seeing a little bit of weakness begin to form here for SUI BTC, which is exactly what we've been talking about over the last several weeks here, where you start to see the price close back underneath those previous tops. So just on SUI USD to finish up here, the weakness would be closes underneath those swing lows. Once this loads, I believe it was around $4. There it is. So just around those lows there on that white line. And that would potentially be your overbalance in price. It could also be an overbalance in time because of the amount of time it's already taken from this high. And that would probably be the sign that you're going to see further downside, at least come back to test roughly around $3. So at the moment, it's on that trajectory. However, it has not broken down from $4 yet. And it's all part of this signal that we've been watching here at the tops, which is slowly potentially playing out. Now to the upside, closes back above $5. That is going to put you in a much stronger position. Onto Ethereum. And after that big swing down, at the 50% level, you can see here it was very similar to Sol. It hasn't seen that same sort of pump back to the upside. However, it has reduced the probability of coming down to hit $2,700 on this same swing. So it might hold out here for a bit more before it tests, or it just fails and falls short to around that 2,800. In the meantime, you still have close above 3,100, so that's at least a good sign. But overall, still in the trading range, closes back above 3,500 is going to be put in a much stronger position to at least come back and test those highs. So at the moment, trading range 3,100 to 3,500, kind of nowhere man's land. You've got some strength coming in here. You've got weakness coming in there because it failed at the 50% level. And right now, it's really trying to put in a higher low. You can see here with the price range increasing. and attempting to come back above $3,500. While we're on the case of ETH BTC, huge wick down, slight close underneath the previous low of November. So exactly 2 months ago, put in its lowest price, ETH versus BTC. Today, still attempting to hold that ground. Could it be one of the weirdest double bottoms ever? Look at how low that price got to that one there. Some wouldn't even call that a double bottom, but if we do have this bit of a bounce back, it would be nice to see it get back above 36, so 0.036. That would put it in a slightly stronger position again. And hopefully attempt to get back past 4%. But for now, still on a downtrend, was not able to get to our overbalance in time and price target. That was the target there for possible alt season. It did not get there. Therefore, markets continued to go down. And we saw that with a lot of altcoins continuing to fall, except for XRP. But what's happened to XRP in the meantime? Failed at 50%. $3.16. New fresh high, not an all-time high, but a fresh high there to 340, and came back down there on the daily chart here. So a few days down, but before you get all negative on XRP, you can see that it's closed back above the previous top. So you're at $2.90. So a little bit of short-term strength there, and ideally some close above 316 is going to set it back up into a stronger position here to attempt for a new all-time high price. In terms of volume, this was over the weekend, so it's pretty excessive volume for a weekend compared to where it came from. However, while the price can still remain above the previous top, you're essentially in a stronger position. It's just a bit of a pullback here after an abnormal day. That was your Wednesday 15th, ran up 17, 18%, doing roughly about 50 cents on the day. So a bit of an abnormal bar compared to where it's come from. And finally, you've got Trump official or official Trump. You can see this on SwiftX. So if you guys are following this for the Aussies, link in the video description down here for SwiftX. And the rest of you guys, you got Bybit and Bluffin, plenty of sign-up bonuses, crypto debit cards. You can have your crypto on there. You can sell it off. You can earn staking, whatever it is, and then use that crypto to basically tap wherever you go with Visa and MasterCard and use it to buy stuff, which is pretty cool. So that's your crypto debit cards there for Bybit. For the Aussies, $20 a free BTC. So that's Trump, and on the USD chart, attempted it in the last hours bar, and now we're basically pushing back towards $54. So breakdowns here of $36, going to be pretty critical there for it to hold up. But if it does break 36, probably going to come back and test these levels of the 20s, and potentially any sort of weird gaps that's shown up on the MEXC chart. Otherwise, closes above 57 in the short term. This is on the hourly chart here. Then could test the 78s. And of course, with the inauguration coming up in the next, less than 24 hours at this stage, probably likely going to see a little bit more volatility here. So pay attention to it. I don't know, stay online, do what you need to do. It's absolutely insane, just like USA coin was over the last several hours, going up hundreds or thousands of a percent from this low here to the top. There you go, 1,400%. So if you're able to trade long and short, well, at least you got the volatility in the market. What you don't want to see is basically a flat market, much, much harder to trade. But then the risk increases here. You can get big, big, wild swings. And on that note, I'll wrap it up there. Like, subscribe. I'll see you back here for the next update tomorrow, so don't go anywhere. Plenty, obviously, coming up with the inauguration in less than 24 hours, plus all the other stuff that happens throughout January. We've got the interest rate announcements. We've got the Bank of Japan interest rate announcements. Plenty more coming up. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Have a great one, and I'll see you guys back online very soon. Peace out.